What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a hoot and a holler, another banger of a video. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and also don't forget to use code FREEAGENT over at OnlyGas for 20% off your order of any size. Hey, we getting active out here, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, code FREEAGENT. Hey. Let's just dive right into it today. I'm not going to waste any time. Actually, I'm going to waste a little more time because the Gobcast is officially moving to its very own channel. From here on out, the Gobcast will be posted on my second channel, which is going to be transformed into the official Gobcast channel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going fully independent. We're getting in my own studio, produced by me, okay? And the team that I assembled. We're going crazy. Much love for Pine Park, but we're going independent, baby. So, make sure you go subscribe to the second channel, linked in the description. The first episode of the Gobcast on the second channel will be out later this weekend. It's actually episode 15, but the first one on the second channel, on its official channel, will be out this weekend. Now, in today's video, I got a confession to make, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You know, this is a story that I never shared because I felt bad. It was one of those moments, you know, you just had to take it on the chin and keep it moving. But as the years have gone on, I've realized it's been long enough where I can tell this story. It's like, you know, when 9/11 jokes became funny. For probably the first decade, they weren't, but at some point after that, they became funny. This is my 9/11, and now it's funny. Now, this one took place back in 2016. I remember this fateful day very well. Now, this day started out pretty normally, and by normally, I mean relatively from my living standards at this point, okay? A normal day for me was going over to a friend's house and consuming copious amounts of hard drugs until I ran out of money or drugs and had to go home. This day was no exception to that routine. You see, I went over to Michael's house on this fine day, and Michael was there with my homie Billy. Now, Billy's someone who's been in some of the past stories. He's got a lot of lore. But on this day, Billy was third-wheeling bad, and he banged my line for help. I didn't actually get invited over to Michael's house by my homie Michael. It was Billy who hit me up, and he's like, yo, dude, like, his girl's here, and it's not fun. Please come through. So I happily obliged. I said, say less. I'll be there shortly. And shortly I was there. I pulled up, I arrived, I walked up in the function, I dap up Billy, I dap up Michael. And at this point, Michael had a new girlfriend. You see, Michael dated a lot of girls and none of them lasted very long. But this one was probably our least favorite out of all the girls that Michael ever brought around. He was that one girl who not only would fuck anything, which there's nothing wrong with that, but he'd cuff anything. And that's a real bad trait to have. Like, I really mean it. Shorty could offer to throw like 25 cents down on a McChicken for him. He's cuffing immediately. He might be planning the honeymoon at that point. See, like, he's really down for whatever. So I pull up over there, and his new girlfriend, we're going to refer to as Tina, okay? I was going to say Ashley, but honestly, the Ashleys of this channel don't deserve that disrespect. They don't deserve that association. So, Tina it is, all right? So Michael's over there with his new girl, Tina, and listen, Tina is insufferable. Tina's the kind of girl who would keep him away from us. He'd be like, oh, I can't kick it. Tina's coming over. You know, she wants to watch a movie. She was that kind of girl. She didn't want to be a part of the rest of us. She didn't want to, you know, get to know any of the homies. No, no, no. She wanted Michael all to herself. And listen, buddy, okay? I might not jack the guy off, but I want a piece of him too, okay? I'm trying to kick it. Now, pretty much as soon as I arrived and got settled, we dropped acid. And by we, I mean me, because everyone else there, I came to find out, was already tripping. So I was like, fuck it, man. I guess I'll join the party, you know? Pass me a tab, let me get it cracking. I ended up popping, I don't remember how many, but I didn't trip that hard. So we're just gonna say 2 for the sake of the story, right? This wasn't like a face-melting trip. I was still relatively coherent, somewhat, kinda. But either way, I popped my couple tabs. I'm vibing out, chilling out in Michael's room. His new girlfriend that we all hate is sitting right next to him. And I just, man, she had this talent. Honestly, I'm going to call it a talent. She had this just raw ability to just ruin the vibe. This raw ability to just fucking ruin the vibe. Like, I'm talking, we would be watching TV and there would be commercials for like Victoria's Secret, for example, and it would come on and there would be any remotely attractive woman on the TV. She'd always have to make some snarky comment that she'd pass off as a joke, like, oh, like, I'm sexier than her, huh? Like, oh, like, I should be doing that, huh, Michael? Like, bitch, shut up. I don't want to hear it. I've had enough. You're built like a McCafe. I don't even know what that means, dude. I'm pissed. But she was just like a professional vibe killer. And despite that, I was still down to tag along and drop acid with everyone there, including her. Because you know what? I was a trooper. And we were going to power through. So we're vibing there for a little bit. And eventually, the first good thing she did, she suggested that we go for a walk. She was like, oh, we should go to the forest preserve. I'm like, bet. That sounds pretty good. That sounds great. This is actually, looking back at it, this is one of like 2 instances I tripped with this woman. She didn't last very long, but this was the first one. So either way, we get up at the function, and we realize pretty quickly that we don't know where the fuck we're actually headed. We get outside, and I think once I walked outside is when I realized, like, oh, fuck, I'm actually tripping now. When you change environments is really when you start to pick up on, like, damn, I'm definitely not sober. You know, when you initially adjust to that new environment, it just hits you like a truck. So I walk outside, and I'm like, damn, okay, like, I think I'm feeling pretty good. Like, this is great. I'm seeing tracers everywhere. My colors are super fucking enhanced. I remember, even despite the fact that it was kind of ugly outside and it was snowy, it was still just beautiful, right? Like, it was still wonderful outside. It was just exquisite. I remember one of my favorite visual effects that I would sometimes get, and I definitely got this trip, is I loved looking at the sun shining off of like snow or other bright white reflective surfaces, because I'd almost see like a rainbow. It would be like putting a flashlight on like a diamond, you know? I would just see all these colors just exploding. So we walk outside and I'm just looking all around me, and there's just these colors just exploding out of the ground, and it was beautiful, you know? The visual experience on acid really is tough to describe and even tougher to replicate. But my God, is it wonderful. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, I'm really fucking tripping dick right now. We're wandering around Michael's neighborhood. And the thing is, if we wanted to go to the forest preserve, we realistically would have had to drive. That's not possible because we're all tripping balls. Well, I mean, it is possible, but like, yeah, you shouldn't really do that. So either way, driving was off the table. The forest preserve was definitely more of a drive than a walk kind of thing from Michael's house. So we ended up just wandering over to the unincorporated neighborhood that was adjacent to Michael's. And this was kind of a forest preserve. Like, when you're on acid, it's just a forest preserve. By that, I mean there's probably, at any given moment when you're in this unincorporated neighborhood, especially when you're cutting through the backyards, there's probably 10 trees around you. Like, if you turn your head a whole 360, probably at least 10 to 11 trees around you at any given moment. On acid, those 10 to 11 trees feel like 10 to 1100. So I'm like, yo, we're in the forest, dog. Like, we might have to call the forest preserve, call the rangers. We might get lost in this bitch. So we walk over to this unincorporated neighborhood, and Billy's kind of jagging behind a little bit. And we're like, Billy, yo, keep the fuck up. And we keep having to egg him on. Like, Billy, pick it up, buddy. And Billy's jagging. So finally, we get sick of it, and we go back. We're like, Billy, like, what are you doing? We realize this motherfucker lost his cigarettes, which is code red. Because if you guys have ever dropped acid, you know that cigarettes are a very important part of your trip, okay? For me, this was important, okay? We smoked a lot of squares on our fucking trips. Like, drunk cigarettes are cool and all, okay? Everyone likes to talk about drunk cigarettes. Acid cigarettes are really where it's at, okay? That's the real deal. So Billy's looking for his smokes. I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, I hope Billy finds them. He was a Marbred smoker, and I wanted to bum one real fucking bad. I was praying that I didn't have to bum one from Michael, because Michael always smoked American fucking spirits. Ugh! Grow up! Why don't you be a real American and smoke a cowboy killer Marb Red, pal? God, disgusting. So we're looking around for Billy Smokes, and mind you, like, we are literally on our hands and knees searching through blades of grass, as if, like, somehow the cigarettes got sucked into the earth under the grass, and we gotta find a little hole that they got sucked in from. You could probably guess we did not find the cigarettes, but we spent a damn long time looking for them. And eventually, I kind of forgot what I was looking for and just started getting silly with the grass. You know, I was pulling up blades of grass. You know, I remember at one point I saw a little bug, like a super tiny one. I don't even know what it was, but I was so dialed in on it, bro. I was so focused on this tiny little bug down there in the grass that I was just staring at it. I was getting silly at this point, okay? I was also tripping balls. Now, mind you, while we're looking for Billy's cigarettes, we're starting to lose a bunch of other shit. We're all down on the ground, looking in the dirt, retracing our steps, or at least attempting to, and we're dropping shit as well. And Michael's girl, Tina, ended up dropping the rest of the acid that she had, which was around a 10 strip that she just had wrapped up in a little bit of tin foil. Now, she dropped that shit, and I noticed it, and I went over and I scooped it up. I was like, yo, I even pointed it out. I said, yo, Tina, you dropped your tab. She's like, oh, thank you. Just hold on to that. I thought nothing of it and just threw it back in my pocket. Thought absolutely nothing of it. 10 strip, under my command, under my watch. No problem. I'm the acid commander right here. So I throw the tinfoil in my pocket with the tab safe and sound, and after a while, and I mean a while, like we were genuinely fucking around in the grass for probably an hour. Finally, we were like, all right, there's no more breads currently, which meant only one thing. We had to smoke American Spirits on the rest of this walk. Absolutely brutal outcome. My morale was diminished. It was tough. It was painful. I had a difficult, traumatic experience this day. So me and Billy are like, fuck, bro. I'm like, did you leave them back at Michael's? Like, did you even bring them out? He's like, I think I brought them, dude. Maybe they're at Michael's. I don't know. I'm like, fuck, dude. I'm just trying to vibe and enjoy the rest of my trip. And luckily, I wasn't tripping too hard to do that. You know, I was enjoying the rest of my stroll. We're just fucking around in the woods. We didn't even have any weed rolled up for this walk. This was so spontaneous, we literally just popped out to take a stroll and smoke cigarettes. So we're, you know, having our little stroll, you know, going about our day. And finally, maybe 30 minutes go past, and we walk past the BP on our way back to Michael's house. We did a little loop. We decided to go back to Michael's, and we walked past the BP gas station, which was our signature spot to get cigarettes. The reason it was our signature spot is because those sons of bitches absolutely never ID'd, with the exception of one, the oldest cashier in that bitch. It was a Middle Eastern family running that shit, and oh my God, they were all chill except the boss man, the big boss, the CEO. You could tell he was the big boss, okay? He had the most drip. He had the flyest attire. He had the biggest, you know, religious headwear. He was just the king. He was clearly the CEO of this BP location, all right? And when he was behind the counter, we ain't getting shit. So we walk up to this BP. We go inside, and lo and behold, it's the boss. It's the CEO. So already, you know, we're like, okay, we're off to a rough start. We lost the Marbreds. Big boss is in the BP, so we can't buy more. We just got to hope that Billy left them back at Michael's house, because if not, this is going to be a rough evening. Now, we grabbed a couple snacks and we dipped out of the BP, and we're walking back, and Michael asked for another tab. He asked his girl, and his girl's like, oh, like, yeah, Nick's got him. I think no problem. Of course, I do have the tabs. I have them right here. I reach in my pocket, fumble around a little bit. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't feel any tinfoil in that pocket. I go for my other pocket, fumble around a little bit. Wait a minute. I don't feel any fucking tinfoil in that pocket. I start rummaging my shit. I start panicking. I'm like, yo, like, this is not good. I was trying to maintain a good acid trip, and the visuals were thankfully carrying that. but the vibes were getting progressively worse. And those of you guys out there who know, you know that vibes are the single most important thing on an acid trip. It doesn't matter if you're in Wonderland, okay? It doesn't matter if I'm at the goddamn Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, okay? If the vibes are not there, it's not gonna go well. So I started to panic a little bit. I keep running my pockets and coming up with nothing, and I'm just getting this feeling of dread coming over me. This feeling of like, oh fuck, everyone's about to be pissed. The world's collapsing around me. You gotta understand that, like, me when I'm sober, if I lose this TENS trip, it's just like, oh, my bad, bro. I'll get you another one. Problem settled. While I'm tripping, it feels like someone just called me and told me that my whole extended family just got tortured to death and my cats were attacked by rabid coyotes in a rural province in China. It hit me like a fucking spear to the chest. Holy fuck, I was so close to freaking out. So all these thoughts are racing through my head and I'm thinking, and I realize, I'm like, yo, I don't know how, this is not a rational thought. Sober me would not have done this. But while I was tripping, this came to mind. I was like, yo, I gotta gaslight his girl. I gotta make him think that she lost him. So I'm looking at my pockets and I realized, I was like, wait, didn't I give those back to you? And she was like, no, like, what do you mean? Like, you grabbed them. She knew my shit the whole time. But I just kept at it. I refused to accept it. And honest to God, I have no idea why. This is not something that I normally do. Normally, I accept responsibility. I'm the kind of guy, if I fuck something up, I'll embrace that. Even when I was younger, even when I was high on whatever drug, if I fuck something up, I'm gonna embrace that. I don't know what it was. I think, honestly, I hated homie's girl so much, I was like, yo, fuck it, we gaslighting. So her and I have this little back and forth, and at this point, we're not even walking anymore. We are just stopped in the middle of fucking nowhere. We're not back in Michael's neighborhood yet. We just left the BP, but we're also not really in the unincorporated neighborhood. We're just kind of next to the gas station, and we're sitting here going back and forth, and I'm like, no, I gave him back to you. Like, check all your pockets. Like, did you stuff it in your bra? Like, where'd you put it? And I'm sitting here, yo, I was on demon time, dude. And Billy, I don't know what drove him to do this. I don't know if he sensed what I was doing or what, but Billy joined in. He was like, yeah, Tina, like, you definitely had the tabs last. Like, Tina, like, where'd you fucking put them? And Tina's getting pissed at this point. She's like, yo, Nick fucking had the tabs. I'm like, no, I didn't have the tabs. Like, I had nothing to do with them tabs. I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I was tripping so hard and lying so hard that I think at some point I genuinely convinced myself of this. I really believe that I never had the tabs after a little while of saying it over and over. So we continue walking home and we're still going back and forth at this. And now at this point, Michael is pissed at Tina. We've succeeded. Billy and I have won. He believes us. He's like, Tina, like, why the fuck I can't trust you with this shit? Like, this is why I never give you shit to hold. Like, he's going in. And she's sitting there like, no, like, fucking Nick lost that shit. She's blaming it on me. And I'm just sitting there like, yo, I wasn't saying much. I was just letting them fight, enjoying the stroll home. And at this point, I was just like, oh, thank God my vibes have improved a little bit. And dude, I feel so bad about doing this. Yo, Tina, if you're out there, yo, I'm sorry. I lost the tabs. Okay, but I don't know why I even did this, but either way, so we walk home and we get back to Michael's crib and we go upstairs, and at this point we had spent so long arguing that I wasn't even really tripping that hard anymore. Like, yes, I was having visuals, but like mentally and vibe wise, I didn't feel like I was tripping. I just felt, a little above normal with some cool visuals. So we got back and we roll up some blunts, and they're still fucking fighting. And they were the kind of couple, well, I guess Michael was the kind of guy, because he did this with multiple girlfriends, where like they would just fight in front of the homies. Like, there is no like, oh, save it for later, or like, oh, we'll go to the other room and hash it out. No, they're gonna fight right in front of the homies. They're gonna escalate it right in front of the homies. Things might be thrown around the room right in front of the homies. Yo, it was bad. It was fucking bad. So they're fighting the entire time while Billy's rolling a blunt, and Billy and I are just having a side conversation. I asked him, I was like, bro, like, where's your smokes? You find your smokes? He's like, oh, fuck, I forgot about that. Like, shit, you're right. So he starts looking around the crib for his smokes, and I'm like, yo, hold up. Like, let's finish the blunt first, bro. Like, I'll look for you. So I start looking around for his cigarettes. Billy's trying to finish up this fucking struggle blunt. Michael and his girl are screaming at the top of their lungs. It was a nightmare, okay? Now, after a little bit, they kind of just shut the fuck up. There was no resolution to the fight. I think they both just got tired of yelling, and they just calmed down. And it happened once the blunt was lit, so I think the blunt was a real determining factor in the rest of the evening. It really brought things back to where they needed to be. Because as soon as Billy sparked that blunt, we were off to the races. We're back to normal. It's like the tabs were never lost, right? We're just back to it, chatting, fucking around, and that only lasted for probably 15 minutes. And then Michael once again realized that his tabs were missing, and he got up, and I remember he literally just ripped the cushion off this little chair he had in his room. He's gutting it. He's looking all up in there, and I said to him, I'm like, yo, like, I don't know, like, didn't we have the tabs after we left here? I don't know if they'd be in the cushion. He's like, fuck. You're right, bro. Like, you got any other ideas where they'd be? And I'm sitting there, and yo, if I didn't hate Tina so, if she wasn't so awful to be around, I probably wouldn't have said this. But I was like, he goes to me, he's like, you got any other ideas? And I'm like, Tina might. She just, bro, she shot me the worst look I've ever gotten in my life. I was still vibing, though. I was still chilling. And I never had to throw down anything for these tabs, so it was pretty great. But eventually, Billy and I got the fuck up out of there because they started fighting again. They were some real, like, beefers. They lived for this shit, especially Michael. So me and Billy got the fuck up out of there, right? We went outside, and I'm chilling with Billy, and we went across the street from Michael's house to this little parking lot that we called The Box. The Box was just the classic high school spot, and whenever we had nowhere better to be, we would just post up there, because we knew that something would occur eventually. Someone else would show up to make a serve, someone else would show up to smoke. This was the official spot for our school, right? So we posted up at The Box. We chilled out. We had no weed left to smoke, but we were still kind of tripping too hard to want to go home. So we just shot the shit at The Box for a little bit. And we waited and waited and waited for someone else to pull up. And after maybe like an hour of shooting the shit there, just hanging out, having a conversation, Michael ends up pulling up, which caught us way by surprise. He pops out of his crib, and he lived directly across the street. So, like, we could see the moment he walked out of his garage door. We're like, yo, Michael, like, come over here, buddy. And we're asking him, we're like, yo, is shit good with Tina? Like, is shit good with your girl? He's like, oh, she's trifling. I'm never letting her hold those tabs again. I'm like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you shouldn't do that, Michael. Honestly, yeah, I'll hang on to him next time, man, for sure. You could trust me. Hey, no problem. Granted, hey, I never did anything like this again, okay? I want to make that part very clear. But Tina, if you're out there watching this, I just want to say I'm sorry for gaslighting you so hard that you guys broke up like a week and a half later. However, I think that would have happened either way. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to check out the Gobcast on the second channel from here on out. And I'll see you all in the next one. Deuces.